Hey everyone, this is Ben with Stringer Bridge Farm. Today I want to talk a little bit about how we establish our winter ryegrass. We pretty much only plant winter rye and we plant clover. There's pretty much no other annuals or anything we plant at this time. I think we will be adding that in the future. But the reason we pretty much only plant rye grass and clover is they're one of the few that we've had really good success with broadcasting seeds. So we're kind of newly establishing this property, so there's lots of old stumps and uneven ground and different things. And rather than work all that ground at one time, we've kind of opted to slowly restore the pastures, remove stumps, remove old tallow trees and those things. You can see we leave a lot of trees in the pasture. See all these isolated trees. Anywhere we came across nice trees, we left them. So not quite silvopasture, but we do like to leave a lot of shade trees in our pastures for our cows. It really helps them with that summer heat. But anyway, back to the grass. What we do is we do rotational grazing. So right now I'm working the cows through about 40 acres total, and I've got it broken down into paddocks that are anywhere from, I'm going to say, 1 to 3 or 4 acres in each paddock. And all I do is I try to, the day that I move the cows, I check the forecast, and if there's rain in the 5-day forecast, I'll scatter the seeds with my tractor, just broadcast spreader. I'll scatter them right before I turn the cows into a paddock. Then I'll put the cows in the paddock and they trample in the seed for 2, maybe 3 days max. And then it might be a month or 6 weeks before I come back to that paddock, and by then the grass is established. So you can kind of see what we have here. It's not the most beautiful thing in the world, but you can see there's plenty of ryegrass coming up. Over the next 60 or 80 days you'll see this ryegrass really provide a lot of forage, especially when we get into that kind of January, February, March area, right before our summer grasses start waking up. But you can see the cows, they nibble on it. I don't save the paddocks or anything like that. I like to keep my animals rotating, so they'll rotate through this. They'll get an opportunity to graze on it, and then I'll move them, and ryegrass recovers pretty quick. So like I said, we'll be back to it in 6 weeks or so. But there's some definite advantages to seeding the way we do, and because we used to, you know, our recommended date around here is mid-October. So what we used to actually do is I would take and watch the forecast, and anytime after October 15th where there was some rain in the forecast, I would go and plant all of our ryegrass. Some years that worked out good, some years it did not. To me, there was kind of a couple of key factors that really weighed on our success, and one was I think that didn't give every paddock that 6 weeks to kind of establish prior to. So those paddocks that we would graze in the first 2 or 3 weeks right after planting never did as good, because I think the grass wasn't ready to be trampled or bitten or anything like that. So those would struggle, and then if the weather wasn't perfect, we could have a complete failure. So I find we've kind of hit our groove, at least with broadcasting ryegrass, where, you know, you put it out. If the weather's terrible, I just don't plant the grass in that paddock, or 2 paddocks, or 3, whatever it is. I'll just skip them until the weather's right. So like this year, we planted well into November and even some into December because the weather, everything wasn't right when we got to certain paddocks. But you could see, like this particular paddock, it worked out pretty well. I've got a lot of tonnage growing on this one. You can't see as much over there because that's where they were yesterday, so that far area where it just doesn't look as green is because they ate it. But you could see, if you look in the paddocks that are to come, there's plenty of ryegrass that's come up and is going to be available for these cows to start eating. And we still supplement with hay. The whole time we're feeding ryegrass just for roughage, because it's very green and they get some very loose poops from it. But anyway, that's just kind of my thoughts. Like I said, we plant just a couple acres at a time. Hopefully the weather's right when we go to plant, and If we get failures, we don't get complete failures because we're only planting a couple acres at a time and letting the cows kind of trample it in, and it seems to help our seed to soil contact a little bit, and it gets that 6 weeks of rest, so seems to be working out for us so far. Anyway, see y'all later.